So for kidding, some of my priorities are that they have really nice, easy kiddings, which is not totally predictable, but I do as much as I can beforehand and during to make sure they have a nice, easy delivery and the kids are healthy. I do dam raise, so I do want the dams and the kids to bond really well in the beginning. Spend a lot of time about the month before kidding, helping the does get in a routine and establish ownership of a stall in the lean-to area, either by themselves or with a buddy. By having a place that they feel comfortable in, where they will have their kids in the kidding stall, I think that helps a lot with their deliveries, because they're not as stressed as they are if I'm putting them in that kidding stall for the first time when they're in labor. Alfalfa, some regular hay so they don't get too spoiled. So when they get close to kidding, or if it's cold, if it's February or January when they're heavily bred and they're coming in the stalls at night, I like to put down straw. Straw is better than hay when it's cold because straw is hollow inside and it's a better insulator for heat. And so it's warmer at the ground level when you have the straw. And the straw also absorbs the urine, helps keep the stall nice for the kids. It also keeps the kids from getting dusty and slimy with dirt when they're born, because the straw does stick to them, but it's much cleaner and it's easier to get the straw off of them than it is when they get all dirty when they're born and hit the ground and it's full of dust and dirt. So I'm just breaking up the pieces that are stuck together. And you don't want it too thick, because if it's too thick, the babies will have trouble standing up and walking around in the hay, and they're just born, so they're not that coordinated yet. But you want it thick enough that it's warm and soft. So if the dam is standing and the baby drops from a standing position to be born, then it's not, it's a little bit softer than just bare ground. And you want them to have access to a lot of water when they're close to kidding. I mean, you always want them to have access to water, but a lot of times I won't fill it up all the way because there's a lot left at the end of the day. But for kidding, I will fill it up all the way, especially if I'm going to be at work all day, because they're going to be very thirsty. They're going to need that hydration for labor and delivery. And then a very important thing, a lot of times I leave it on the ground. The doe can reach to drink, but if she backs up to it and has her baby, the baby doesn't fall in the water. Usually they have their babies lying on the ground, but sometimes they stand up to have their babies, and you don't want the baby to drown in the bucket. So I hang the bucket if they're close to kidding. So when they're pregnant, I give them the chaff hay, a little bit of grain to get their stomach used to it, sunflower seeds, because they have some selenium, which we're deficient in. And then sometimes I give them Copsel, which also has copper and selenium from fir meadows. But I always give them uterine, which the primary ingredient is raspberry leaf. And raspberry leaf is very good to get them ready for labor and delivery. I also give them this one from Molly's Herbals. Most of the year I don't feed grain. Just right before they give birth to get their digestive system used to it again. And then I give some grain on the milk stand. So these guys are about 2 weeks old. 2 weeks and 2 days. So you see they're already sampling mom's grain and meal. When they're brand newborn, I keep them in this small stall with mom for the first couple of days, just to make sure that they bond really well, they nurse really well, and also so they learn how mom talks to them and have a small area where they'll bond really well, especially with someone like a goat like Willow, who's a first freshener, because you never know if they're really going to understand this mom thing the first time they have babies. So after like the second or third day, I'll let the mom and the babies out in this lean-to area to kind of make sure the babies stay with mom and understand how she calls to them to follow her. For the first 2 or 3 weeks, I put the moms and babies in a stall overnight because they're not used to getting milked in the morning. So this makes sure they're in a good milking routine before they're free in the corral area at night with everybody else. As twins, her udder's very even. Both kids are nursing on both sides. She does not like to be milked. I put her through the motions every day to get her used to it. I've got about 2 months before the little boy is weaned. You see, now I'm going down the leg and she's standing a lot stiller. And then I just pet her till she stands up again. Just so she has a positive experience on the milk stand. But as soon as I touch her udder, she starts dancing. So I'll touch her udder, let her dance a couple steps, and then I'll go back to petting her. So when people are selling goats and they say milk stand trained and they're charging a little extra for an adult doe and milk or trained on the milk stand, there's a lot that goes into it. So this will take probably about 1.5 months of doing this every day. I do it longer on the weekends. Weekdays when I work, it's a shorter amount of time. So it'll take a lot of hours to just make her feel comfortable and confident to let me milk her out. She'll let me get right in there and milk her. She lets me touch her and pet her. So I did the same thing with both of them. I raised them both from the time they were babies, brought them on the milk stand for hoof trims and treats, typically once a week. Sometimes it was once every other week. And they both jump up on the milk stand real nice, but as you can see, Willow's going to take a lot more patience and work to get her milk stand trained.